Hello, everyone. Welcome to NJ Thrive's Small Business Webinars. Today is Thursday, March 28th, and you are attending one of our weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. My name is Uzma Sheikh. I'm a consultant here at NJSBDC, which stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. We're a statewide program powered by the SBA, Small Business Administration, and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three main things. And those things are no cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, just like this one that you're attending, and exclusive small business resources. On the map there, you see the state of New Jersey with all the counties of New Jersey. And in some counties, you will see the small SBDC logo, and that's where our regional centers, our 10 regional centers are located. If the counties that don't have the logos, they are covered by the other regional centers. So multiple counties get covered by one regional center. And if you ever want to go say hi in person or go to an event and it's held and it's hosted by the regional center, go to njsbdc.com, find out where the regional centers are, and make an appointment. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you continue to join us. If you are joining us repeatedly for the past several webinars, then also thank you, and we appreciate your support. Feel free to let us know in the chat where you're from, what you do, who you are, anything about your small business, any socials, website, anything that you'd like to share. Feel free to network. And yeah, excited to have our speaker today. So before we get to the speaker, though, we do have an agenda, and that agenda is just basically sharing a couple of headlines that are happening in the small business community. So events, press releases, things that small business owners should know. Then we have our presentation from our speaker, and then the Q&A. So these are the small business headlines of the week. We've shared them in the past week as well on Tuesdays, and the links will be shared in the chat. So just keep in lookout. I will just go through these very briefly. So this is a press release from the NJEDA, which is the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, a great resource for you to stay in touch with. They always have programs and things coming out. So as you can see here as well on the side. The first is from NJEDA unveils first annual New Jersey Global Economic Index. Report aims to guide and further develop the state's international business relationships. And this is a report that highlights, ranks, and analyzes the sources of a foreign direct investment, FDI, into New Jersey. It will be released annually. This was the first year. Aims to guide and further develop international business relationships with the state while bolstering Governor Murphy's global economic development goals. So the report can be found here, right here. So when this link is shared, you can go read the entire report. Second is a press release from the SBA. This is the official website of the United States government, the SBA.gov. U.S. Small Business Administration, also another great resource for you as a small business owner to stay in touch with. This is a press release that says registration open for National Small Business Week Virtual Summit. I know we've been sharing this for the past couple of weeks, but it's just a reminder that attendees can participate in educational workshops, network, and learn about federal resources to help them succeed. All right, so this attendance is free of charge. Registration is required. It's a 2-day online event taking place from April 30th to May 1st. So definitely something as a small business owner to attend. So hopefully check the website out. And then the third and last is from NJRIC, become a part of the Information Technology and Cybersecurity Accelerator and take your business to the next level, free of charge to participants. Who is this program for? It is a 5-month program starting in late spring. If you already have a successful technology business but want to get to the next level and accelerate growth, don't miss the opportunity to join our innovative vendor development program. specifically designed for New Jersey MWBE and veteran-owned small business owners in the IT and cybersecurity industry. So MWBE, registered operating in New Jersey, employing 2 or more individuals, and business should generate at least 500,000 annually. So you have to fill out this registration form and then good to go. Oh, all right. So let me just take a quick look at the chat. Okay, everything's okay. Hello to everybody joining. All right, thank you. Everything's good. Things to keep in mind, some housekeeping rules. Type questions in the Q&A box that is right next to the chat box. We'd love to address your questions during the Q&A session about anything the speaker has shared or anything that you have questions about for the NJSBDC. Then if you'd like to receive the slides that the presenter is showing, then all you have to do is complete a brief survey, and it's a Google Forms. So as soon as you complete it, you'll get the link for the slides. And this webinar is being recorded, so the link will be shared in the chat on where it will be available. Usually it's available on our video library on our website, but also our YouTube channel. And in it from me, today we have Jenny Rock-Bailey, one of our specialty consultants. We always have a good time when Jenny's here presenting. And today's topic is how to easily find and keep and develop talent in your organization. So I'll stop sharing. Jenny, the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Isman. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, especially on this topic. I want to welcome you to this guide on this webinar on attracting talent and why it's so important, because it's a crucial factor in gaining a competitive edge and achieving strategic business goals. So before I start the webinar, I do want to just clarify a few things. The webinar isn't designed to identify resources for you to attract talent or to interview talent. This webinar is really designed to get you ready to make sure that the talent would want to work with you, because we're in a position right now where the talent as defined by you really is in the driver's seat. So I don't want to misconstrue anyone by thinking I have all the answers, where to go and get the talent. I don't. But what I want to do is make sure that you're aware of what it takes for you to attract the talent and keep the talent. So we're going to focus in on the importance of top talent, why it's important to have it, the strategic impact of having top talent, and the competitive edge that it gives to you. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at key attractors for high performers. And that's what we're calling this top talent. Let me also interject a little commercial in here. Talent is defined by you in any category that you're looking for. You want to hire someone as your benefit administrator. You want the most talented person in the benefit space. You want to hire somebody that's an admin. You want to hire the most qualified person or the most talented person in that space. However, when we're looking at talent that is going to directly affect your revenue generation, your branding, and the growth of your company, that talent is defined differently. We're looking at high performers that have growth opportunities, that are looking for company culture and a compensation and benefit scale that will allow them to see that they've made the right decision. That's what's in the mind of the top talent. And how we go about doing that is we craft our employer brand, talking to employers out there. I'm talking to small businesses out there. I'm talking to owners. It's important for us to craft our employer brand so that it's a magnet for the talent in which we're seeking to attract our business. So visibility and reputation are really important to this group because they are strong They are strong communicators of what they're looking for, because the interesting part about this top talent, this is the last time I'm going to use that phrase, is that they know sometimes more about your company than you do. I mean, it's important for you to have visibility and reputation management. It's important for you to have employee testimonials about how great it is to work for you. And it's also important for you to have a level of social responsibility, because this group that you're looking for, and I'm not going to say they were born in an age or they're a certain age, but their ideas about what they want is crafted by the experiences that they've had, whether it's in education, or whether it's their family values, or whether it's their community service. So this is a group of candidates who have a really keen idea of the company that they're looking for. And I said before, they know so much more about the company that's going to interview them than so often as the interviewer. So it's really important for you to prepare yourself for this, and prepare yourself for really being a magnet for this talent. So they come out and they look for you as well. So I just think that a strong employee brand communicated through visibility in your industry, positive employee testimonials, and a commitment to social responsibility, which I'm going to get into a little later. So the interesting thing also about preparing this was, you think about all that's happening in the world. I mean, there's just so much going on in the world. But when you sit down and you talk to someone and you interview them who has all the bells and whistles that you want, and you realize that you have to be prepared, their questioning is on so often it's on the world in general. It's not just on your organization or what you have to offer. If you're the vice president of technology and you're looking for something, their emphasis is placed on, what are you doing for the world in general? Because they know the skills that they have could make them the top talent for you. So I can't emphasize that enough. It's time for us to really dissect those things that are important to them and important to you. Connecting with potential candidates, platforms for engagement. This is when you really have your A game on when you're looking for this talent. Your content strategy has got to be spot on. You have to know not only the ins and outs of the position that you're looking for or you're hiring for, but you also have to know why you're better than your competitors. You're building communities. What have you done in your community that you could highlight during this interview? And I, as an HR professional, I always like to be in the position where I introduce those topics before the candidate introduces those topics. So you want to make sure that your social media platforms are visible, that you want to make sure that you can share insightful content about your business, and that you're building online communities that resonate with top talent. There's special attention, I hate to use that, but it's true. There's special attention that's given to this talent base, because you know how much they can offer your company and how much they can take you to the next level on a global perspective as well. So you think about things like your application journey. And so many times, and I have a client now that's saying, we really don't want to do an app. We don't want an application. We don't need an application. What you want to make sure is that your application is user-friendly. It's on a user-friendly portal, that it's clear in its communications, and that it respects for candidates' time. So I don't know today why a company would have like a 6-page application. Well, I'm not saying you don't need it, but I don't know why you would have it. My clients have to prove to me that they need a 3 or 4-page application. But the benefits of an application is that you're asking everyone the same question. So no one can come back and say, well, you discriminated against me. You asked for my age. You asked for my race, my gender. You can't ask for that on an application. So the application journey itself is uniform in its intent. And so that's why it's important that you have an application. And just as an aside, if you purchase them, because you can buy a pad, you can buy a page of applications, just make sure that at the bottom it says that it's been approved by employee selection guidelines. Because when it's approved by that, then you know that all the questions on the application are legal. I mean, that's what's really important about that. You want to make sure that it's user-friendly, that clear communications, you want their name, their contact information, mobile number, those kinds of things. You can also ask if they prefer remote, hybrid, or in-person employment workforce atmospheres. You can ask those kinds of questions. But again, the beauty of an employment application is the fact that it's uniform, it's in its intent, and it asks the same questions to everyone. So when you're looking at discovering potential beyond the resume, you have to be prepared for that. You have to ask structured interview questions, behavioral questions, and you have to ask the candidate about their experience, not only in regards to the position that they're interviewing for, but you have to ask them questions in terms of behavioral questions. What would you do in this case? How would you handle an employee who was just not meeting the expectations? You have to ask them those intentional questions that will elicit them to give you how they would either use their best practices, revert to the policy manual, talk about their experiences and how they dealt with that. You have to be deliberate when you ask the questions. And also that information is not on the resume. The resumes at this point are so glorified that sometimes you have to dig deep to understand what it is they're saying about themselves. But this is your opportunity. This is one of many opportunities you have before you make the decision to make sure that you're on the same page as this candidate. If you find that their question, their answers are not meeting your expected answers, either delve a little more or determine whether it's the right person that you should go forward with. Either way, because you don't have time. You're interviewing for a position that you need right away, or you're trying to fit into the organization. What's really, I think, really cool from an HR perspective about interviewing candidates right now is that we have so much analytical data about what our candidates look for, our sourcing, what performance predictions can do for us. And that also, all of this reduces your bias. The more statistical data that you have on your position, how many people have the credentials for it, et cetera, it decreases your exposure of hiring someone and then having a candidate that was not the most qualified come back and say used a biased platform to hire me. And they're just as susceptible of doing that as anyone else because they want the job as well. So if you don't have availability of analytics for your candidate sources or predictabilities on performance in this position, you can get it in many ways. You can reach out to organizations that have it, try it for free. You can look at other companies that are using it and see, and because everything is online. So you can look and see how they're using it, what their measurements were, what their questions were. There's no excuse now to not have some statistical data on candidate sourcing. There really isn't. And you don't want to be in a position where that could have solved you time and money if you didn't look at it and you hired the wrong person. That's what you don't want to do. So you create a reservoir of talent. I really like this reservoir of talent, because when you think of a reservoir, that's where everything is. But you create this reservoir of talent because you want to know where the networking and referrals came from, because you may have to use it again, or you may want to hire an additional person. You want to look at succession planning, where you determine this person to be in X months, because they're going to ask you, what is the career, what is the internal career path for this position? Because they're not going to say for me. Some will say for me, and I like them too, but they're usually asked for, what is the career path for this position? This is not the time for you to say, well, we haven't gotten there. You have to have all of that information together before you meet with them. And creating this reservoir of talent allows you to really look at everyone under the same lens. And it's also a continuous engagement, because as they grow within your organization, if they're the most successful candidate, you have to be prepared to have this information grow as well, because they may be in a position to want to use their own networking and referrals if they're at a level, if they're hired at a level where they want to look at what's out there, because it could be their replacement because they're going to a higher level. You can't underestimate this candidate. And you cannot, I don't suggest you meet with them unless you're prepared. We have canceled a number of interviews because the client wasn't prepared, and it would have been a waste of time. And it would have also put, like a little bad mark on the company. I didn't want to do that. So I'd rather spend more time to get them ready than put them out there and have them be an embarrassment to themselves, but more importantly, an embarrassment to the company. So when I think about networking and referrals, and this has just come up for me, I think now that we're more in person, you should look at professional organizations, professional conferences. You can go to meetups for special talents. And I'm shocked at the level of professionals that attend meetups in these high-tech areas, because they're seeing where people are and what's available. And companies are starting to attend those also. So that's also a good networking opportunity for you. So we look at the onboarding process. For so long, people were like, why are we doing onboarding? We just tell them you got the job. Well, we do onboarding for everyone, but you have a different kind of onboarding for this candidate, because so much of the onboarding that you're going to perform or create for them deals with the culture of your organization. So if you haven't determined what your culture is, that's one of the main things that you should be looking at as well. Because whether you have a stated culture, you have a culture that exists by how your employees act, how they perform their duties, what kind of relationships they have with each other. So a culture exists. So it's really important for you to have a culture, because you want to make sure that they're welcomed into that existing culture. So you talk about the many things you do, many things you have, from a truck that comes around and gives coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning, to the opportunity to go someplace within, your organization or within your building or within a space that you rent where they can have a moment to just think. This is a different kind of employee that we're looking for. And just to pivot for a minute, so much of this comes from the result of COVID, but it was there before, but not as identified as much, because we opened up remote employment to everyone, where before this was a benefit for this employee, for this candidate, because we needed their services so much, so we created it. But in that culture comes things that are some may consider as feel-good moments, but it's beyond that. It's making them feel as if they're a part of more than just an organization that wants them for their talent. It's making them feel as if they're part of an organization that welcomes all of them. So you can also ask questions about, their community service when you're interviewing them. And it could mirror an organization or an activity that you're doing. You also want to talk to them about clear roles that they should look to perform and fit into, and what your expectations are. So this goes back to analytical data on the position. You can look at expectations. You can ask for expectations in the query for that data, but you want to be in a position where you're so involved and committed and invested in this position that you have a clear understanding of what the expectations are. Look at early development opportunities. What do you see them doing? What projects? You don't have to go deep and tell all the trade secrets, but you can give them an idea of the project that you're interested in them working on. I mean, that's clear. There is work to be done when you're looking for talent. There's work to be done, unlike just a job description, not just a job description, but a position description and experience about the position when you're looking for a lower level employee. You have work to do. It should be a part of your business goals for 2024. It's not rare that you're looking for this person because you've just gotten an opportunity, a procurement opportunity. You want to bid. And you know that in order to be as successful in this bid, that this position is crucial. But sometimes we wait. We wait until we think something arises. It says a lot about your business planning. But when it's early development about opportunities, you want to be on the other side of that wait. You want that candidate to know that we've thought about it. This isn't just something that we feel is a one-shot deal, and this is the growth of that opportunity. So you want to be ahead of it. And I'm a big proponent of creating and welcoming staff into your culture and setting clear role expectations. Because on the other side of it, when I do exit interviews, that's one of the main things they talk about. So often, this group doesn't want to exit interview, but in many instances they do, because they want to tell you how you failed them. And you don't want to be in a position for that. So make sure you're ready for them. And the onboarding experience here may be separate than what you have for everyone else. We often recommend that. It's a private conversation between you and that candidate. If you're bringing a few what you would consider top talent into your organization at one time, have separate onboarding experiences, because they also it has to be clear to them that they're not just, it's so crazy, but it has to be clear to them that they're not just any employee. Even though that's in many cases how they want to be treated, they're not just any employee, because they have an investment, a financial investment attached to them. So we're just building the stage for bringing someone on. So beyond the hire, you've got to have a strategy for retention. And so often, even the word retention is looked at, I want to watch my time because I could really keep you here forever. So often the word retention is looked at as, what are you talking about, retention? I mean, either they're going to stay or they're going to go. But with the kind of dollars that you're investing in someone of this caliber, you want to make sure that you have a strategy for retention. And it's not something that you have to share with them, but it has to be a plan that you have to adhere to. They have to have a career path, recognition and rewards. What does that mean if they're involved in a project? It's worldwide or even local, and there's PR in it. Include them in the PR. Work-life balance is huge for this population, because they realize that so often what they have to offer depends on where they are that day, mentally and physically. And that's one of the reasons why you you were attracted to them because you learned that they worked on a project, how they worked on a project, what was so important to them about finishing the project. It's all out there and you want to be a part of it. And also some of the things I'm recommended are good for the workforce in general. But when it comes to investing in someone, you have to pivot and make sure that they're given the attention that they deserve. And if you're not the president of the organization, you better make sure that you have a strategy for retention for that person, because then it's only looked at as how did we waste our money? You don't want to be in that position. When you look at leveraging data and hiring, you look at which is really cool for me. This is all part of the future of recruitment. And I think this is kind of what stands some really good HR firms apart. You look at the predictive analytics on the hire, and we mentioned this before, and on their successes. It also enhances the candidate matching. Because there are things in that data that you can see in all candidates, and then there's more that you can see in one. And that may be the aha. That may be the aha for you. Oh, he has that. You may not have been thinking about it because you're so involved in the organization, but it comes out in that analysis. And that's why it's really important. And it also streamlines the hiring process. Instead of looking at all these people who have the baseline of qualifications, then you start to identify those who are really the players that you want in your organization. We placed ourselves in a position where if you didn't think, as the person looking for the talent, that you had a worthy responsibility in your organization to be given this opportunity at this point, is a confirmation that you do. It elevates the position of the person that's looking for the talent. It really does. You're given this position to look for the talent because the organization saw something in you. And that's actually how you should look at the person, regardless of whether in a large company or a small one. Look at the person who you're giving this opportunity to. Because the streamlined hiring process is more prevalent now than I've ever seen because of time. Time and the ability to not put a body in a seat, which we often talk about with lower level, but it's to make sure that we have the talent so we remain competitive. And then you think about the recruitment process and the candidate's capabilities in general. Then you go deeper. You think about how they fit into the organization. What other talents may they have that could allow your company to be on a more level, a more playing field with your competitor in your area, not just logistically, but in your industry. So there's a lot that goes with staying on top of the advancement of your recruitment efforts. Another thing that, I think it really surprises a lot of clients is how invested this population is in social responsibility. And again, it has a lot to do with where they come from, their values. I want to say families in the general term, because it doesn't have to be your biological family, but families that were created for you. So much of it has to do with how you saw the world, how they saw the world, and how your company sees the world, regardless of whether a mom, pop store or not. My crew knows here that I always think bigger. I always want my clients to think bigger than where they are. Because if they think bigger, then they understand that I'm really the astronaut in the ocean. I'm seeing everything. So I want to make sure that you know what your social responsibilities are to your organization and to your community, whether it's climate change or plastic bags or whatever. Show it, show, and also have your ethical standards. Your ethical company standards, those standards that will not be, the violation of those standards will not be tolerated. And that is something that you can discuss in the interview process. Whether it's your code of ethics, code of conduct, whatever you want to call it, you want to make sure that you speak to that in detail to your candidate. So you're really opening yourself up to the candidate about where you stand. I mean, it's just like, it's like opening up that closet door that you don't want anyone to see, but you cleaned it, so you want everybody to see it. That's the time. Yeah, this is the time when you want people to know what your ethical values are. Because it does lead to sustainable growth for the organization. And it also leads to sustainable growth that a candidate is looking for with the company. My ums and stuff are hesitation, because so often this candidate, if they don't see, when they're hired, if they don't see what they want, they're not waiting around because they've got another offer on the table. So you can be in a position, we can only do so much, but hopefully I'm giving you some tools where you can look at how important it is for you to have all these boxes checked off before you even engage in the recruitment process. And I say in the recruitment process because you want to be ready for that candidate, but you can also grow along with the interviewing process with the candidate by stages. But you can't have many stages, because if you're looking at them, someone else is looking at them as well. And I think that's the interesting thing for me when I interview them, is they will say, look, I got another offer on the table, but this is what attracted me to your client. That's what I want to hear. I always want to hear that, because I know we're doing our job. So then you look at the role in leadership development. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if you don't have leadership training programs, they are on the plan for this year. If you don't have mentoring and coaching, they're on the plan for this year. But for this candidate, you should have succession planning. You should have it when you interview with them. What does this mean to you? And it says a lot about the growth of the organization as well. And I'm not saying don't have leadership training programs. I'm not saying don't have mentoring and coaching, which is something that we really should have learned during COVID, how important it was to bring people back who really weren't ready, but weren't ready to stay home. We had to build in these factors to make sure that they were well and whole. But succession planning, you should have it. You should be working on it. And it's above a business plan. It could be in a business plan, but really it's beyond a business plan, because it looks at where the company is going. And 5 years is out there, but you should have more than 2. Some have 10. I think that's great, but I'm a realist. And you should have more than 2 and talk about beyond that. But you should have your eye on succession planning, regardless of whether you're looking for this talent or not, so your business can be sustainable. Strategies to reduce turnover. Now, I have been involved in these trainings where people don't think that exit interviews are important. It's not so much that the exit interviews itself or themselves are important. It's the information that you get for them and the kinds of questions that you ask about them. So strategies to reduce turnover is understanding the root causes why someone leaves. Because you have, especially this talent, you have a gut reaction that you're not meeting their expectations. Don't wait until it's confirmed. Go with the gut reaction. Employee engagement initiatives, create them for them. Engagement initiatives is activities that are between people on the same level, or maybe asking them to mentor someone that's on another level that is striving to get where they are. Career development opportunities, again, are a great way to reduce turnover. And I'm saying that you should have it. You should have career development opportunities within your organization, regardless of the size, so your population can see that you're thinking about it. And that's very important. You want them to know that you're thinking about their next step. And I smile because so often it could be someone, not top talent, but it could be someone who's been waiting to be identified as one who can attend these organization conventions. Or if you're in the New York City area, go to Jacob Javits Center, to represent the company at an event where you can bring back enough information. But career development for this talent is when they can get to the next level. And then if the next level is just you, is what are you going to do then? Partnership, an agreement. I mean, have an idea of what you're thinking about. And it's also effective management. Keeping employees engaged and satisfied, competitive compensation. If you're, I always think of, regardless of what your size, I like to do compensation ranges. So my clients can see what their minimum, mid, and max is, so they can move them through the compensation schedule. But you need a competitive compensation where you know that you're on par with your competitors. And one way to always look at it is look where your candidates are coming from, or if you hired them, where they came from. Check what they're doing. Because so often this talent goes back to their former employer because they see how much they lost. And the candidate sees that they've learned their lesson by letting him go. Recognition and rewards are also good. Even in your newsletter, even if you offered them a spot in your newsletter where quarterly they could talk about what they do, what they've done, and the impact it had on the organization. And again, work-life balance initiatives are really great. And there's a list of them that you can find that could fit into your organization within your area. And you can also create a survey to find out how could we make this to everyone, and also include this person, but how can we make your work experience here more impactful in your life? What can we do to do that? Interesting things are happening now where people are not people, but organizations are confronted with these situations where employees have got to have more or need less. And because of the value of that employee in the organization, we make the concession. Preparing for the future of work, embracing remote work. I mean, now, even from a global perspective, it's important to consider, embrace it, take it on if you have to. Prioritize mental health. This is a big issue, and even now, post-COVID, and I'm looking at the clock because I don't want to just rattle on, but even now, post-COVID, many companies are saying, if you don't feel good enough to come to work, we can make an arrangement. We can make an arrangement for you, and I'm writing policies for that. So it's not new, but it's important for you to consider it if your business will allow you to do it, because it all depends on your business model and what's needed. But you want to be in a position where you've at least considered it, or a hybrid situation. But you definitely want to be in a position, even if you're not large enough to offer some kind of benefit that includes mental health, that if you have information available in your area that offers it. Sometimes that's all they're asking for, is where can I go? And because you don't want to do the diagnosis. It's not up to you to do it. It's up to you to identify and confirm that the need is there. And it's always good to adopt HR techniques and innovations that can allow you to look at so many of these things. There are so many HR apps that are out there from companies who are on top of prioritizing mental health and ways to do that from an HR perspective. Prioritize employee health and happiness, identify mental health programs, physical wellness initiatives, supportive work environment. And so often this does not include additional revenue. It includes being creative, identifying who's in your workforce that can help, fostering a truly inclusive culture, inclusive hiring practices, go beyond your normal recruiting. For this talent, you're going to have to, but even for this talent, your normal recruiting may be a subscription with Indeed, but if you're really interested and you look at those organizations, those professional organizations that may have an employment arm in the tech world, that's going to be inclusive. A diversity training is inclusive, and it also allows the organization to understand where the talent is within the organization, but it also allows you to develop the talent of diversity employees within your organization. Safe and open communication channels as you define them, whether it's, do you have an idea box on your webpage for internal people only, whether during your evals or just chats now with employees, you want to make sure that it's safe and open. And so often the employee has to define what open is. Strategic value of HR and business, aligning HR with business goals. HR as a business partner, impact on bottom line. And I speak this not just because I'm an HR person, but so often you don't think you're big enough to have an HR person. So whoever you're involving in that process should be educated on how to do these HR functions. Send them to SHRM. Send them to some kind of training program where they can see their own work as HR when it comes to business. But HR was really identified as a strategic business partner during COVID. Preparing employees for tomorrow's challenges, adaptability training, emotional intelligence development, and really creating a continuous learning culture. And if you need help in doing this, you can find it. It's not an anomaly anymore. It's available to you because the world knows that it's needed. Your space knows that it's needed. So it's available to you. So I would want you to find it. Mentorship programs, leadership training, succession planning. This is how you nurture your internal leaders. And it can be ongoing, and ongoing is scheduled quarterly, scheduled twice a year. That's ongoing. None of this should be a one and done, because every day, from my perspective, things are happening in the workplace that you want your people to be on top of. And this is also an attraction for that talent. All of this is an attraction for the talent. A healthy team is a productive one. And if you're going to be productive, your mental health has got to be intact. Your work-life balance has got to be intact. So you offer wellness programs. And people who do this often do this at a very low cost, or a part of an organization that may do it for free. You have to do your research, because when someone's out, that hurts your bottom line. If this talent is out, it could hurt the direction of the organization. So you want to be on top of it. Adapting to new norms. Flexibility is the future. Remote workshops, options, flexible hours, and employee autonomy. Work it out. If the employee is worth it, meaning that they're in good standing, you see a future with you, the company sees a future with them, work it out with them. The next generation of HR technology is automated recruitment, AI for training, and predictive analytics. Some of this is redundant, but under new categories, because I want you to think in terms of these new categories. A culture of communication, regular check-ins. For some, the standard 3-month, 6-month annual review is over. There are regular check-ins. How are you doing, Jenny? How's your day? How's your family? Constructive feedback is always important. And an open door policy by the person who is the top person in the organization. I'm using person, but it's always good if the president or CEO is available, but it always, for everyone, should be someone that's above them, not on their same level. And for the talent, it should be the person that hired them or the president. A diverse and welcoming workplace, inclusion strategies, bias training, celebrating diversity. And these can be done in any way that you see fit, whether it's a monthly activity, honoring every ethnic month there is on the board, training, having people everyone have a spot in a newsletter where they can talk about their culture. They can talk about how proud they are, what's happening in their home country. Strategies that work, competitive compensation, career development paths, recognitions and rewards. This talent really likes it. They like to be recognized. They like for people to know, especially their colleagues. They like them to know that, look what I'm doing. It's in the paper. I got a reward. I got a bonus. They want to let them know this is where I landed and I'm happy. Ensuring compliance, make sure that you're on top of your regulatory changes, your compliance, and your legal audits. Make sure that you're on top of them, because this talent they'll flee if you're not on top of some of these things, because they don't want the burden of thinking that the company that they decided to work with is not the company that they thought it was. Data-driven decisions, again, performance metrics, employee satisfaction surveys are your friend. They're your friend. Look at your turnover rates. Well, your survey shouldn't be geared to highlight all the wonderful things you do. The survey should be geared towards what more can I do? That's when you get your information. Future trends, evolving with the workplace, your future trends, continuous learning, and a strategic HR role. I think I did it. I said I had to stop. I want to thank you so much for attending this webinar. I hope that you I hope you got some of what you were looking for, but I hope what I presented will allow you to expand your revenue and also the decisions that you make in bringing in talent. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you.
We have a couple of questions to go
Sure.
through, but you did very well on time.
I knew you were
Definitely amazing.
looking. I knew you were looking at me as well at the clock.
No, it was all good.
Good.
Yeah. So we definitely have a couple of questions. What we can do is, before we get into the questions, we can I'll just share a couple of reminders with everybody. So this webinar is being recorded. If you'd like to rewatch, go through the information that Jenny just went through, then you can certainly go to our YouTube channel, NJSBDC Enjoy Thrives. Type that up. You'll find it. This recording will be available in a couple of days, so 1 to 2 business days. And if you'd like to receive the slides that Jenny just presented, then you have to go to our brief survey. The link has been shared and it will be shared again in the chat. And you can keep track of that. All right, so that's all. And then Jenny, you're getting lots of thank you, Jenny. Good info for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'll ask again. Thank you. And then excellent information, highly informative. So everyone definitely liked
Great.
your webinar. All right, two questions, and then just a reminder to everybody, please put your questions in the Q&A box, not the chat. If they're in the Q&A, they're more likely to be addressed. All right, first, we'll go in the order that we received them. First
Sure.
question, can you hire someone that is on disability as an independent contractor? How can we make sure we are not breaking any labor laws?
Sure. Well, if they're being hired, if they're being retained as a contractor or a 1099, they're not employed, they're not your employee. So you can hire them. And so it's really interesting when you use hire because it always it looks like you want to hire an employee because that's what that terminology usually means. But if they're a contractor or a 1099 or someone that you're bringing in, an LLC, it doesn't matter whether they're on disability or not. As a matter of fact, it may help you when you want to report your numbers or when you want to, you're working on a bid or a contract to say that we hire everyone. Our most recent hire was someone with a disability or a veteran. So it could be a definite advantage, but it's not against the law because they're not employees.
Got it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Then our next question is from Tara, who asks, how much risk do small businesses have when letting people go in New Jersey? Given we are an at-will state and small businesses don't have a lot of time to have all the requisite meetings.
Right. No, this is a great question because as an at-will employer, you can let people go when you want, and then they can leave when they want always, so it's really a catch-22. But what I advise all of my clients to do is keep a record of the reason why they're not meeting the expectations. Because the irony of it all is that when you let them go, they're going to unemployment, and unemployment says, why did you let them go? And unemployment doesn't want to hear because we're at will. That is too cute for unemployment. They want to know that they were late for work, and I have the records and I'm attaching them. They caused a disruption. I have the email or the memo that said first infraction or second infraction, you've got to go. They want that documentation. So I always have documentation on the reasons because the lawsuit isn't saying it's employment at will, so they can't sue you. So you want to have that documentation that proves that you made every effort to keep them, but they violated your company policies, your code of ethics, or they just were not the right fit. If it's performance, you definitely want to have a paper trail. If it's conduct, you can let them go at will, and you have the reason why.
As the Gen Z generation, the Gen Z in the lingo that we say is that you need to have receipts. You need to know, you need to have, docs on hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So as in other conversations, I say you need to have receipts too.
Yes, exactly.
So what does that make me? Gen
Yeah.
something.
No, that makes you that you're well aware, as you should
Right.
be,
I'm on
as
it.
everyone should be. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. So next question is from Kate,
Sure.
who asks, how does it benefit the business to ask personal questions like how's your family doing, etc., during the employee check-in besides making the employee feel cared for? Is there any benefit other than creating that feeling? Good question, Kate.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know how the end was going to be because so often I get that question during the interview, which is definitely not cool. But once you hire someone and once you've hired someone, number one, you're allowed to ask a little bit more about them. But when you create a culture where you want people to stay, you want to be familiar. You want to know how their family's doing, especially now, because sometimes when they come to your job, when they come to their office, it's the safest place for them. If you don't know about what's going on in their personal life, you always want to make sure that you make where they work comfortable, inviting, and that they're a part of a group. Doesn't have to be a family, but that they're not alone. So sure, you ask how you're feeling. I ask it all the time, and I think it's a good place to be. I'd want to work for someone who asked about my family. Okay, that's good. These are
If it's
good
not a
questions.
family, it should definitely be a community.
Absolutely. And that's
Exactly.
why, that's another reason why, I speak so much about whatever size you are, get involved in your community.
Mhm.
Have your employees take an hour off and do something for something or someone, because that makes them feel more invested in their community and more invested in you.
For sure. For sure. Next question is from D. Amin, who asks, are we required to offer MEC program to 1099 workers? What is the minimum 1099 working for us before we need to provide MEC?
Well, I'm not an accountant or a lawyer, but I think you should look at your NEC and your miscellaneous, and there's another 1099 for people who are contractors in 1099. And so the threshold for me is still $600. If they make more than 600, then I give them 1099s, but make sure that the last three letters are appropriate for you, because IRS is cracking down on employers and contractors who are being paid by apps, because unfortunately our contractors are not reporting that money. So I know jest, but make sure that you have the right 1099 and that the threshold is $600. I can't
I
hear
was
you.
going,
Okay.
yeah, I was going to say that concludes our Q&A session, but right as I said that, one more question popped up. We can definitely take that. And Amin says, how about medical benefits offerings?
Sure. Well, in order for it to be mandatory, you have to have 50 employees, um, 50 or more. So for my clients, what I do is I recommend that they send their employees to the marketplace, because you can get a pretty good deal there. It's better than none. Or that we assist them, because we're small, a lot of them are small, assist them with social service agencies in our community that they can go to for little or no cost. But in terms of benefits, if you're over 50 employees, you must offer them. And you have to look for a firm that's going to give you the best package for what you can afford, because so often the packages are so exorbitant that when they leave, they can't afford the coordination of benefits. So you want to make sure that that's covered as well. Um, and you can do a search on on um on carriers that are looking at working with small businesses, because I think there are some out there. Good questions, Isma. These are great questions.
Yeah, our audience is definitely pulling through.
Good,
So
good.
yeah, of any other questions that we can have, it is 1:05 p.m. right now. We can go until 1:30, but if there are no more questions, then we can definitely conclude. Amin says, awesome, thank you. So,
Good.
and then Takira says, this was amazing. So definitely
Excellent.
good feedback,
Yeah,
um, always. So, all right, let me just share my screen quickly and then show everybody
right.
but before I get into that, Ginny, thank you so much for always being so kind and doing these with us. You always receive such amazing
Awesome.
feedback. Tara says, wonderful, great to see you again, Ginny. And then
Yeah,
Takira also said Ginny's a superstar. So yeah, always great feedback. Thank you so much. And let me just show everybody.
that's
Um,
nice.
yeah, Jerry says, great session. I love Ginny.
That's
There you go. Look at that.
that's
Um,
great. great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So njsbdc.com, this is our homepage. This is our website. So whenever anyone mentions during any webinars, go to our website. This is it, njsbdc.com. The first thing that you see, request counseling, red button. This is if you would like to speak to Ginny, if you would like to speak to any other consultant, whether it's for marketing, accounting, finance, capital, whatever it is, then you go here and then you select your county in New Jersey, of course, because we serve the residents and business owners of New Jersey. Then you select your county and request counseling. I am biased, of course. I always say that, but I think our website is a great resource because we have things like events schedule, we have resources and tool. And this tool, this basically page gives you all the websites that you should be aware of as a small business owner. So whether it's federal, whether it's just related to New Jersey, we have some local websites as well, whether it's chambers of commerce, whatever it is, it's a great toolkit that you should know about. So go to that. Let me just go back to the page. If you go to events, we also have podcasts and blog posts, excuse me. You can go to that, but the page that I want to highlight is this. So when I say that our video library, this webinar will be on there, this is the page that I'm talking about. We have been doing these webinars since 4 years now, I think, since the pandemic started. So a lot of our webinars, we've done hundreds and hundreds of them. You just keep loading more and more will appear. So again, there we have Jenny. You were doing navigating procurement success. So we have that one. We have marketing. We have registration, how to cybersecurity, SBIR, CTR, all of that goodness. If you go to all statewide events, then we have, remember the 10 regional centers that I mentioned in my introduction? So all 10 regional centers, whenever they're doing any webinars, any in-person page events, then everything shows up here in all sorts of topics. Whether they're online or in person, it'll tell you the location if it's in person. If it's free, it'll say that, but if it requires a fee, it'll also say that. Also a reminder, if you didn't know, we counsel and offer workshops and events in Spanish. So if you'd like to speak to a Spanish speaking consultant, please let us know and we can arrange that for you. But if you go through this list, you will find Spanish events and workshops in Spanish.
Great.
And that is all that I wanted to show you, but feel free to take out a minute or two out of your day to go through this website and then share that with people. Upcoming webinars next Tuesday, April, we're already in April 2nd, we have Streamline Your Startup and NJSBDC's Business Registration Guide with Brian Silvestri, one of our capital team consultants as well. Now, this is part of our webinar series on how to register your business in New Jersey with zero NJSBDC support. And we've been doing these since November, so quite a while now, but they're a hit. People find them very valuable, so feel free to join us. But if you are already in business and this is not as relevant, feel free to pass this on to your friends, family, whoever is interested in becoming an aspiring entrepreneur. And another webinar that we have, or this is not exactly a webinar, but this is an application walkthrough workshop for the New Jersey Treasury Minority Certification for MWS-VBE and LGBTQ+. This is an in-person event. So April 24th, 2024, Jersey City, 1 p.m. I know Jersey City is like, oh, where in Jersey City? Once you register, we'll send you the exact address. So this is in person, bring your own laptop, have all the required documents saved as PDF, and they will walk you through this. All right, and that's done. NJSBDC has helped 15,000 plus small businesses start, grow, and thrive in the past 45 years. This year, we mark our 46th year. So no cost to small business consulting, training and events starting at $0. Exclusive small business resources. Check out njsbdc.com. I'll see you all next Tuesday, if not the next Thursday. Ginny, it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, everybody, take care. And if
Take
it's
care,
raining
everybody.
nearby you, then stay safe, stay inside.
Bye.
Bye.